Hi, welcome to the second Scharf-fix Basics video, part 2. In this video, we're going to cover overall thickness pairing, especially for labels and onlays. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I'm going to do a small step pairing demo. So this is the same setup from the previous video. I have not changed the blade. So this is my piece of goat, which is going to become either labels or material for onlays, which means it has to be very, very thin. I'm going to do this, for this video, I'm going to do this wide strip. For the next video, I'm going to do something a little different, which is also going to address onlays. But for this, this is just how I would normally pair a strip of leather for the labels for 1 or 2 volumes of a, 18th century book. Nice reddish brown goat. It's got a fairly pronounced grain, but that'll be okay. So this is, I believe this is still set up. So as you saw in the previous video, I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to take about half of the width of the roller in each pass. You'll get a lot more control if you don't try and do the whole thing at once. And again, I'm going to check to see how deep my cut is going to be. This is a little deeper than I would like, so I'm going to raise it up a little bit. Okay, so here we go. Now I actually started from the far end. I think I'm just going to continue to do that. Yeah, I'll go to the other end here. There. Too wide. If you turn, if you kind of angle the skin, you can steer it a little bit. It's not precise by any stretch of the imagination, but it's doable. So if you find yourself kind of going off, you can kind of get back into, oops, this guy's tough. But again, as per the previous video, tension on both sides of the piece of leather you're pairing, and just don't try and do it all at once. Just little steps in there. This is starting to show that it's, the blade is definitely becoming more dull. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this first pass with this blade that had previously been used, and then for the next pass, this guy's tough today. Crank it up a little bit more. Because I'm going to be making at least one more pass along the whole skin, so if these don't match, it's not the end of the world. There we go. As a side note, you also end up with little dudes like this, which if you're clever, you may be able to use for something else. Onlays, inlays, hey, who knows? Just tossing that out there. All right, so now I'm going to do my last pass going this way. There we go. If you don't keep tension, especially on this side, you run the risk of putting a hole in the leather. You'll put holes in the leather anyway as you learn this, but you want to try and avoid it. So there's the first part of the first pass. Now we're going to finish off by going the other way, taking this off. All right, now I've done one complete pass. Now it's time to switch to change the blade. Actually, we're just going to turn it end for end. Use the second half of the second edge of the same blade. So you can see the mark. Just flip it over. When you don't see a mark, the next time you'll know it's time to put a new blade in. All right, now we're good to go again. I think I just hit the camera with my head. All right, so something you may find when you put a fresh blade in, sometimes it will actually cut a little deeper. I didn't adjust anything. And you can hear the difference with a fresh blade. Now I'm being a little bit more adventurous here, which is probably a mistake, quite frankly. Again, you've got something, even if it's just a cat toy. Again, that was without readjusting the carrier here. You can see we're getting down now, but I still want to go farther. So I'm going to drop this. I'm going to tweak it a little bit and we'll see what happens. There we go. Now we go slower. This is not the time for hot rodding. And if you're patient, you see the difference there? And as I said in the previous video, keep in mind that every time you pare away a layer, you're paring away the strength of the leather. So this becomes, as it becomes thinner, it becomes increasingly less, I want to say weaker, but it loses a lot of its strength. And a piece of leather that, like this one, when I started with, you certainly couldn't tear it with your hands. And at this point, I could rip this guy pretty easily, and it would just kind of come apart. So the balance between the elegance of where the leather comes over the boards and the caps and such like is always a trade-off with the strength and ultimate durability of the binding. So you have to really kind of keep that in the back of your head. Now you can see this is pretty thin. I would say if I were doing, for basic label work, this would be plenty thin. I might, if I wanted to, I could make one more pass with a brand new blade and just kind of even it out. You can see, now this is one thing you have to worry to keep in mind when using the less expensive blades is they do tend to leave a few more. They're not quite, the edges aren't perfect, and so you'll get like little lines, areas where it isn't quite as, pared as deep. Also, the cant of the blade will affect that. In general, I'll just go back with my hand paring knife and touch it up a little bit. You do need to smooth these, there you go. See those tracks? You need to get rid of those. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull out another blade. This is kind of what I was saying in the previous video. You will go through blades fairly rapidly. And the idea of trying to stretch, the amount of use you get out of a blade is understandable, but can be counterproductive. So you need to kind of, again, this is another trade-off. You may be able to get more use out of the blade, but every time, as the blade continues to be less sharp, that's when the odds of things going wrong increase. So, that's a trade-off that you have to kind of be aware of. And in my opinion, it's better to